Dr. Licona, what about the idea that maybe Jesus was on the cross? Okay, maybe he was on the cross. One of the Muslim ideas is that his body was substituted with someone else. But another idea is that maybe he didn't actually die. Maybe he survived it and came back a few days later when he gained his strength. What do you think about that theory?
Like apparent death theory, again, we've got the same problem that I just mentioned a moment ago. Jesus predicted that he would die an imminent death and be raised from the dead. So if he didn't die, if God rescued him, only made it appear that he was dead, then that makes Jesus a liar. It makes him a false prophet. No rational person should serve a false prophet. Jesus wouldn't be a great prophet, as the Qur'an says. He is a false prophet if he didn't die on the cross. And again, the problem would be is if God rescued Jesus and he didn't die on the cross, then God deceived not only the enemies of Jesus, he deceived the earliest followers of Jesus, who the book or the Qur'an refers to as Muslims. And so he would have deceived the earliest Muslims. And the question we'd have to ask then, if God is willing to deceive Muslims, the followers of Jesus, how do you know he's not deceiving you now if you're a Muslim following Muhammad? You couldn't be sure.
I love this so much, Mike, because talking to Muslims, many times I've asked them this question, and it is confusing because if a Muslim is thinking that God behaves a certain way, when they actually have to look at it and see, oh, well, if God made it look like Jesus died on the cross, and the Quran tells us, yes, that Jesus' followers were Muslims, it also tells us that God made the followers of Jesus to triumph, to be successful, then God promoted a false religion, and he encouraged and allowed that until 600 years later, Muhammad showed up and said, no, you guys were wrong. You Christians were deceived. Well, like you said, what does that make God? That would make God a deceiver. And I'm sorry to say that you Muslims know that it is in the Quran that God is a deceiver. I don't think in everyday practice that most Muslims consider him to be playing tricks like that. I think they would consider that God has integrity. But from our point of view, if God fooled the people that we came from, and indeed some of our Middle Eastern friends have been following Jesus for 2,000 years, their family lines, if they've been deceived all these years, well, how do we feel about the character of a God who allowed us to be deceived by making it appear that Jesus died or someone else died in his place? And here we believe that he died and rose again.
John 20:31. These are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name.